What does wilderness nature mean to us, living in a civilized way? From an urban perspective, nature begins to be seen as an escape from the problems of real life. This passage comes from the poem Par Viden by the famous Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen. During the National Romantic period in Norway, there are many paintings depicting natural scenery and how people explored nature. For example, the works done by the famous Norwegian Romantic landscape painter Hans Fredrik Good. More than 1600 years ago, in ancient China, people there had a similar understanding of nature. Tao Yuanming, a famous poet in the Eastern Jin dynasty, described his abandonment of official position along with the life and emotions after retreating to the countryside and nature in Returning to the Garden and Living in the Fields, Part 1. The last two sentences express the author's emotions about finally leaving officialdom and returning to the mountains and forests. 户庭无尘杂，虚室有余闲。久在樊笼里，复得返自然。People have an emotional need for happiness that can sometimes only be satisfied through contact with nature, and preferably in the mountains. However, this kind of life of seclusion in the mountains and forests seems beautiful, but in the fact, it is not easy to achieve. How many people can give up their jobs and return to the mountains? How many people can really insist on living in a mountain cabin far away from civilization? We mere mortals are content with spending a day, a weekend, or at most a few weeks in nature. And then the needs of showers, fireplaces, and bathing forces us back to our daily routines. This description is the most appropriate to the actual situation. But it was precisely in this dilemma between reality and ideal life that tea provided a way out for the ancient Chinese. In the Tang Dynasty in China, the trend of tea drinking emerged, and poems about tea drinking began to appear in large numbers. Many tea poems described the tea drinking environment, such as the idealized tea drinking scene described in the poem of Tang Dynasty poet Li Jiayou.同皇甫氏御题建福寺一空房 Light a stake of incense in the quiet forest. Lie on the rope bed and look at the bamboo forest beside you leisurely. The burning lights continue the rise of the sunset. There are also poems describing the feelings after drinking tea, such as the Tang Dynasty poet Lu Tong's 7 Bowls of Tea mentioned the artistic conception about after drinking 6 bowls of tea, you can communicate with the gods, and after drinking 7 bowls, you can ride on the wind and clouds to the Penglai mountain. In the poem 资圣寺奔法师晚春茶会 written by Wu Yuanheng, the Prime Minister of the Tang Dynasty, the first 4 sentences describe that Zisheng Temple looks fresh and clean under the moistening of a spring rain, and the lotus flowers are in full bloom. At the same time, it also hints at the intricacies of the chord through contrasting techniques. As a working person, Wu Yuanheng loves work, but also wants to escape from work. In front of tea, he seemed to have found temporary relief. The tea soup is like spring rain, and the state of mind is like a Zen garden. After rain, the Zen garden takes on a new look. After drinking the tea, my soul seems to have been baptized. In that era, meeting outdoors to drink tea quickly became a custom that conformed to social norms. There are clear differences between Norwegian outdoor living and how it appears in many other Western countries, such as the United States. Norwegian outdoor life does not emphasize how to deal with or fight nature. Norwegian science historian Peder Anker once wrote in a book that Norwegians who admire flowers in the cold were closer to outdoor life than those who were thrown out of bed in the morning and learned how to row. This romantic emotion has many similarities with the artistic conception and the emotion behind the ancient Chinese drinking tea. During the Song Dynasty, the Chinese took the connection between tea and nature to new heights. Different from modern loose tea, people in the Song dynasty used group cake tea. The tea cake undergoes two grinding process to become a fine powder. And then filtered to leave the most delicate tea powder. These tea powders are combined with high-temperature water multiple times and stirred with professional tools to form a thick and delicate form. Different from Western coffee latte art, the Chinese use tea powder and water to paint on the tea form, which is also called cha bai xi. People in the Song dynasty combined natural scenery with their own imagination and understanding, and then painted on the surface of tea soup. The artistic value carried by tea has reached unprecedented heights. The content of Chabaixi creation is not fixed. When Chabaixi is combined with the nature of Norway, what kind of cultural collision will occur? In the Ming Dynasty more than 600 years ago, and the Qing Dynasty more than 300 years ago, respectively, the spiritual attributes of tea begin to become more abstract. Tuan cake tea, which is more complicated to make, has gradually been replaced by loose tea and has become the mainstream. The way people connect with nature through drinking tea has also changed. In the Tang Dynasty, people brought tea sets to nature and drank tea in the mountains and forests. In the Song Dynasty, people depicted nature on tea soup. After hundreds of years of development and evolution in the Ming and Qing dynasties, on the one hand, people began to build courtyards in cities and homes to bring natural landscapes into their houses. On the other hand, tea itself has gradually become a symbol of nature, which is what some Chinese people say. Tea itself is nature. Drinking tea is no longer limited to the geographical environment, nor does it blindly pursue too many external forms. After drinking a sip of tea, the artistic conception of nature will already appear in front of you. Tea connects tea drinkers with the natural world in the spiritual world, and the spiritual value it carries has reached an unprecedented height. As early as Tang Dynasty, some literati has such spiritual sustenance for tea. The Tang Dynasty poet Lu Tong's 7 bowls of tea mentioned that drinking 6 bowls of tea can communicate with the gods. After drinking 7 bowls, you can ride the wind and clouds to the artistic conception of Penglai Mountain. In today's fast-paced modern cities, it is difficult to be in nature anytime and anywhere. Drinking tea allows people to relax and establish a spiritual connection with nature anywhere and at any time. There's no doubt that tea provides a way for Chinese people to feel and taste nature anytime and anywhere, even if they are in the city. So when tea comes to Norway, can it create a connection between Norwegians seeking to connect with nature? Does the process provide a new spiritual relationship, a different perspective, or inspiration beyond physical contact?